Good day to you, Madam Jasmina and George. My name is Aisyah binti Abdullah and I will be explaining about the reading activity. So, this reading activity is designed as an inquiry-based task for Form 3 students. Learners take on the role of detectives who investigate a mystery involving a suspicious package found at the school entrance. So instead of answering direct comprehension questions, students will have to analyze the clues, contradictions, and hidden meanings in the text. This shifts reading from a passive process to an active one that requires inference and critical thinking. So next is the um, activity. The activity begins with a first reading to help students to understand the storyline, the characters, and the setting. During the second reading, students focus on analyzing clues and implied information using a detective notes sheets. Then they work on in groups to compare interpretation, evaluate different theories, and support their ideas with evidence from the text. To ensure individual accountability, um, students end the activity with a written response explaining their conclusion. And as for by the end of the activity, students are expected to demonstrate improved ability to interpret both explicit and implicit information. They become more analytical readers who actively question meaning and justify interpretation using evidence. So, assessment is aligned with the activity through students' notes, group discussions, and also individual written responses. The rubric focus on evidence use, logical reasoning, and clarity, ensuring that both comprehension and higher order thinking skills are assessed. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, good day, madam. Today I will be presenting my skill, which is writing skill. So I'll be explaining the procedure of the activity first. For this writing activity, students are first divided into small groups of 4 to 5 members to encourage collaboration and discussion. So each group is provided with an unsolved case file containing crime scene images, witness statements, character character description, and also timeline clues. So the teacher will introduce the background of the case and will clearly explain the objectives of the task, guiding students on how to examine and interpret the materials. So then students will work together to analyze the clues, exchange ideas among them, and debate the possible motives and sequence of events. So this stage allows students to actively engage in problem solving while developing their understanding of the storytelling. I mean, sorry, not storytelling, the storyline before writing. So technically, they will communicate, collaborate, and they will use their critical thinking skills in solving this case. So, I will be explaining the second slide. So, in this slide, I will be explaining on how does the collaborative and writing process takes place. So, once the clues have been analyzed, like the students will move on to the planning stage of their writing, where they will actually collaboratively discuss the key elements of a narrative, including the settings, the characters, the conflict, rising actions, and also the resolution, like how to draw a conclusion from that case. So during this process, the teacher will provide scaffolding by reminding students to use appropriate connectors, um, vari- different types of sentence structures and descriptive vocabulary to enhance clarity and creativity. What I meant is different type of sentence is like it can be a complex sentence or a simple sentence, and Students then will work together to write a complete mystery narrative that explains how the crime occurred and identifies who they believe is responsible for it. Like at the end of the activity, each group presents their story and explains their reasoning, like allowing them to practice both written and oral communication skills. So that's how the collaborative and writing process works for this writing skill activity. And now I'll be moving on to the next slide. As for the third slide, I will be explaining the outcome of the activity. So by the end of the activity, students are expected to produce a well-structured mystery narrative that demonstrates clear sequencing of events and effective organization. So, technically, their writing should reflect improved use of descriptive language, suitable connectors, and also creative expressions, making which makes the story more engaging and also coherent. Like they should use the connectors such as in addition, while, and, thus, moreover. So these are all the connectors that they can use to make the story even more engaging and look more coherent. So in addition to the writing skills, students will also develop stronger analytical and critical thinking abilities by linking the clues, identifying the motives, and justifying their conclusions based on the evidence. So, through this, they will be enhancing their critical thinking skills. So, and also the collaborative nature of the task also helps students build confidence in teamwork, communication, and shared decision making. So, in this, not only their writing skills will be enhanced, but besides that, they will also enhance their uh, critical thinking skills and also problem solving skills. So, that's all for the outcome of the activity. And now I'll be moving on to the next slide. Okay, so for this slide, I will be explaining how does the rubric aligns with the activity. So the assessment rubric is designed to directly align with the objective and process of the activity, where the narrative structure and organization are assessed by examining how clearly students present the beginning, the development, the climax, and also the resolution of their story. The use of descriptive language in this writing is evaluated based on uh, how effectively students use vocabulary and also imagery to create suspense and enhance the mystery. So, creativity and originality assesses how uniquely students interpret the clues and develop their storyline, while grammar and language accuracy focus on the clarity, correctness, and the overall language control. So, um, this is how we know that the rubric actually aligned to this activity. And that's all for this slide. And I will be moving on. For the last slide, I will be explaining why does the rubric aligns with the activity. So overall, the rubric supports a holistic approach to assessment. Since the activity requires students to combine creativity with logical reasoning, the rubric ensures that both elements are fairly evaluated because students are rewarded not only for imaginative storytelling, but also for how well they support their conclusions with evidence from the case file, because they will be technically gathering all the clues and whatever they get as the evidence and the reasoning to come to draw a conclusion of this case file that's been given to them. So this alignment ensures that the assessment reflects real learning outcomes, including narrative writing skills, thinking skills, the critical thinking skills, and the collaborative communication that they have among their group members, which is making the activity both engaging and also academically meaningful. So, in this, they technically learn not only the writing skills, but they manage to enhance the rest of the skills, which will help them to um, be more creative in writing, and also the usage of language, the English language itself in their life. Like it could be the way they pronounce the word, or the vocabulary they use. They will learn more new words, and also they will actually learn the proper uh, sentence structure to write a narrative essay in their daily life, or whenever it comes to any exams. And we also know how important that English is, because they don't only use it for exams, but they use it in other bases of life. So this could actually help to enhance through not only writing but also communicating and also collaborating with their peers. So that's all from me today. Thank you.
Good day, madam. My name is Vanisha Sri Murugan, and today I will be presenting about my part, which is listening skills, and the activity that I have chosen to do is the case of the fallen prefect. So, as you can see here, this is my activity description. So, the activity starts like it's basically about a murder mystery where this one prefect, the prefect dies in the school, and then there are a few suspects where this the then there are a few suspects with certain storylines saying that they are not associated with the murder, but then students will be given clues and video recordings, and students have to sit in groups and discuss and find out who's the actual killer is and who's lying. So as I can see here, here it mentioned like listening as investigation, like how I explained the activity. So students analyze the murder mystery narrative and focus on the meaning, the motive, and implied information rather than surface details, which means it's from the recording or maybe from the thing where they listen to the audio where the several suspects were talking, and also they have to notice into the clues where they sometimes might have missed out certain words, or they might have left out like clues which might lead them to the murder and like that. So, and moving on is critical thinking and interference inference. So learners evaluate conflicting statements, identify unreliable information, and make logical deductions. Meaning that students are given a worksheet, and students have to maybe find out the timeline. For example, person A is like visiting, they told a story, and make sure the timeline actually matches accurately from their story, and make sure they are not lying or there is not any false information which might lead to the murder. So next is interactive problem solving. So suspect profiles and clue cards promote collaboration, sequencing of events, and analytical use of English. So they will be giving them suspect profiles, like their profile, certain suspects, and clue cards to make sure the students understand that they're not missing out any information. And when they're working in a group, it also promotes collaboration, where each of them can discuss among each other, and maybe they can come with a more understanding way of how they know that that is the person who killed the prefect. And next is engaging and appropriate. So it's a suspenseful, story-driven activity that energizes the language camp while remaining safe and education focused. Even though this is in happening in school, or this is like more to Form 3 students, so I believe like this activity might be interesting among the students, because I was planning to have like something where they will discuss, or they have some suspense, some storyline which is not boring and it's a bit suspenseful, and it might also go more to their liking, because since students nowadays they are more into murder mysteries or sci-fi stuff like that. So I was thinking of going in this approach where students will like the activity more. So is the moving on is the objectives of this activity. So first of all, is critical listening development. So students learn to identify key information, spot inconsistencies, and infer meaning beyond what is explicitly stated. So, like as I say, they will be listening to one or two times to the audio, and maybe for the first time they will not understand, maybe they will not catch the information that they're supposed to know, and listening to a second time they might get what they are supposed to understand, or what they are, maybe they'll have to, maybe they'll understand the clue is there, and them discussing together among their peers will help them a lot. So it also improves their higher order thinking skills, where the task sharpens reasoning, interpretation, and evidence-based judgment essential for real life and academic listening. So this activity is not just they are not just listening and they're just finding who's the killer. No, it's them discussing and piecing evidence together from different um suspect profiles, from different statements that has been given by the suspects, and they are piecing the information together to make sure whether this information is correct or not, and then they have to come out with a judgment, where is this really is this actually the thing, or there is something like wrong there. So it is also helping for real life situations, where real life also we have to listen, and also not only by listening we've come to a conclusion, but we have to actually go through the information again and find evidence where it's actually helping. So moving on is collaborative communication. So group work is will promote discussion, negotiation, and confident expression of ideas in meaningful English interaction. So, as I said, them working in a group might help them more understand more what's going on, and each member might have a different opinion, where they can sit down and negotiate whether maybe person A is not the killer, or someone is thinking person A is the killer, so they can negotiate and see why they feel that, and them expressing ideas would be a very healthy way to show that students can communicate in a healthy way without any arguments and stuff. So moving on is information organization and reasoning. Like I said, we will be giving them a worksheet. So they might have to reconstruct timelines and analyze relationships among each of the suspects, and also justify conclusion using clear and logical evidence. So moving on is how would the activity be conducted. So, as I said, first would be the introduction and first listening. So the teacher, like us, would set the mystery context and play the audio for overall understanding of suspect and events. So overall, starting, we will have an overall understanding of the event, where there will be a separate record audio, and also there will be separate audios for like the suspect's confession, suspect statement. Like I said, like maybe statement A, person A saying this and that, and they will be give all that, and from that they have to listen, and they will be giving them worksheets to understand more what are the suspects are saying. So next is focused listening and evidence gathering. So students will listen again. Like I said, they will listen again and record key details. For such, when they're listening, they will be recording key details as well, like alibis, timelines, and suspicious active actions on the detective worksheet that we are going to provide. And clue analysis and collaboration. So suspect profiles and clue cards are examined to identify contradictions and evaluate supporting evidence. So from here, the students sit down together in the group, and they will be going through the suspect profiles and the cards to identify if there's any contradictions, and if there is, what is the supporting evidence. And last but not least is decision making and reflection. So after students have gathered all the evidence and they construct timelines, so and then they will decide who is the culprit and justify their reasoning, and also it will reflect on the key clues after the solution is revealed. So the after at the end of the round, the teacher will reveal who is the actual culprit, and they will reflect on where they went wrong, or how they somehow they could not understand where which went where. And then we will go to the assessment method. So the assessment method is a formative assessment focus, where you will be giving the worksheet. So there you will be evaluating students' listening accuracy and analytical thinking and teamwork throughout the activity. And also there is a detective worksheet evidence. So from the worksheet, we will know what students are giving, like how students are deconstructing the timelines and what notes they have gathered, and or identify the discrepancies and demonstrate active listening and information organizational skills. So from this worksheet, we will know how students gathered information and whether the information they gathered is correct. And next is a timeline and suspect analysis. Students' ability to sequence events, identify motives, and apply deductive reasoning reflects exam relevant skills. So students from just listening to an audio, students have to identify all of these criterias, and how are they identify them. So are they actually actively listening to the audio, or do they understand what is wrong, or do they not do not understand? So it will reflect mostly on the it will reflect more mostly on the worksheet that is given. So students would understand whether that um do they actually like understand, or were they actually doing active listening or passive listening. So last but not least is group presentation. So once they have noticed, identify the culprit, they will come in front as a group and they will justify their conclusion verbally, which shows the clarity of expression and with the evidence-based reasoning, and also their speaking fluency. So from here, students would maybe explain how they got the evidence, from where they got the evidence, and it also explains like it also shows the way how they explain and stuff like that. So later, next is expected outcomes. So the outcomes from this activity is it will improve their listening accuracy. So students will be able to identify key details, track timelines, and detect contradictions, and interpret explicit and implicit information. Like not them just listening from the audio and just writing it down. They will sit down and analyze how the information is gathered, and how they have to separate those two information, like the implicit and explicit information. And then they will develop stronger critical skills. So the students will get to analyze evidence, evaluate motives, and draw logical and well supported conclusions. And moving on is enhanced communication skills. So students working in groups will build their confidence, clarity, and purposeful use of spoken English. And last but not least is holistic learning outcomes. So here it shows that it will increase their engagement, reflective listening, and also their personal growth aligned with language camp objectives. Like from the objectives I have mentioned before, it follows here as well. So now we'll be going into the rubrics. So this is the rubric that I've used for my activity. So as you can see, I have given at least like four components, which is listening comprehension, critical thinking and analysis, collaborative and participation, and group presentation, which is the final verdict. So the type of rubric that I have used here is an analytic performance-based rubric, where students are assessed on what they do during the task, which is listening, and they are analyzing clues, working in groups, and also justifying conclusions. So, how this rubric relates to my activity is basically, as you can see, the first one is listening comprehension. So, listening comprehension directly aligns with this audio investigation, and students must identify timelines, contradictions, and key details expressed exactly, um, which mentions to my task, which directly goes into my activity. So then is the next criteria is critical thinking analysis. So it mirrors the heart of the mystery, which is analyzing clues and spotting inconsistencies and building a logical evidence-based timeline. And moving on is collaboration and participation. So this reflects the group-based detective work, which is sharing notes, debating suspects, and negotiating the meaning in English. And last but not least is group presentation, which will be the final verdict, where students would come in front and they will reveal who they think the culprit is. So this matches the climax of my activity, where students justify their conclusion using evidence showing both reasoning and speaking skills. So basically, this rubric just not is not assessing my learning as well. It's also reinforcing the purpose of my activity. So it rewards careful listening, sharp thinking, teamwork, and confident communication, which is exactly what my activity is designed to awake among the students. So I feel that's all from me, and thank you so much.
Good day, Madam Jasmina. I'm Suvita Nampamahinjiran, and my part is to explain about the speaking activity. So, looking at the description of the activity is the goal is to invent a new gadget or a service that solves a real-world problem or improve daily life. So, in this, I mean that students can make any simple design, any simple surveys or any gadgets that they can come up with a new one and explain it to the audience. Students will work in small group of 5 to 6 to encourage teamwork and idea sharing, and this will focus on persuasion, which students must convince the audience that their innovation is necessary for their future with teacher's guidance. So teacher guides idea to ensure they are feasible and that prototypes can be created easily. The research component for this activity is students explore current trends in technology, sustainability, and innovation to make their idea realistic and forward-thinking. Presentation format will be 5 to 10 minutes or even 3 to 4 minutes, using very simple handmade prototypes or demonstrations to engage with the audience. And students will apply persuasive techniques like build credibility, appeal to emotions, and use logos for logical reasoning. And the expected outcomes, the audience should understand that the innovation is not just creative but essential for the future. So moving to the objective slide, I've inserted 3 main points, which is to develop persuasive and formal speaking skill through structured pitch presentation, and to enhance clarity, articulation, and confidence in oral communication. This is really important for school students. And third one is to foster creativity, critical thinking, and teamwork through collaborative innovation tasks. All the students might have creativity, thinking level in their mind, but when it comes to a presentation or collaborative teamwork, some people might share their ideas and some might not. So these are the main objectives to achieve from this activity. Basically, they learn to structure their pitch logical, including introduction, main idea, and conclusion. And also by presenting to an audience, allow them to anticipate question and respond effectively during Q&A. Teachers may provide rubrics focusing on clarity, persuasiveness, and effective use for prototypes. So, to enhance clarity, articulation, and confidence in oral communication level, students have to practice speaking clearly, maintaining an appropriate pace and words correctly. They will learn to use pauses for emphasis and avoid rushing or mumbling. The activity builds confidence in public speaking, helping them engage with listeners and communicate complex ideas effectively. To foster creativity, critical thinking, and teamwork through collaborative innovation tasks, working in groups, students delegate presentation roles based on individual strengths. So this activity encourages teamwork, active listening, and diverse perspective. So they will have place to share their ideas. Students develop creative and critical thinking skills by designing feasible and innovative solutions to real-world problems. Collaboration with teachers, problem solving, and conflict resolution, preparing them for real-world scenarios and entrepreneurship or advocacy. So next slide is how the activity is conducted. I have divided into 3 stages, which is pre, while, and post activity. In pre-activity stage, I've prepared 40 minutes for them so that it'll be easy for me to divide them into groups and settle them down and give them instructions so they have any Q&A, question and answer session. They can make it before the while activity stage. So students will be divided into small groups of 3 to 5 members. The teacher explains the task, which is us. We will be explaining the task and also what do we expect them to come out with. And then each group will decide on a unique product or service. They will need to come and ask us before we approve it. After we approve it, only they can move on to the next stage. And the while activity, where the pitch delivery starts. So group present their pitch to the class. Each presentation is strictly limited to 3 to 4 minutes or 5 to 6 minutes, anything. Students apply persuasive and formal speaking techniques. And its emphasis is placed on clarity, confidence, and engagement level with the audience is really important. So the post activity is where the Q&A or the reflection stage. A 1-minute question and answer session follows each pitch. So anyone from the audience can ask question and make sure the students who come up with the pitch will be able to answer it. So the product features, they'll be explaining about the product features, practicality, and presenters respond using impromptu speech. So moving on to the next slide, which is expected outcome from the activity. Students will learn how to communicate convincingly in a professional style pitch. They practically will use formal persuasive vocabs appropriate for school level or even business level. And this is all structured and coherent presentation. This pitch will follow a logical flow, which is from introduction, the features of the pitch of the gadget that they are going to come up with or any service, and also the conclusion. So students will demonstrate the ability to organize complex ideas clearly. This will also make them to make an effective delivery while they speak. Speaking with a clear, audible voice, appropriate pace to engage with the audience, and use of intonation, emphasis, and pauses to maintain a listener attention. The Q&A skills will give them spontaneous thinking. Students respond effectively to impromptu questions, showing quick thinking and logical reasoning under pressure. This encourages confidence level, adaptability level, and critical thinking in real-time communication. So the overall outcome will be students are able to deliver polished, persuasive, and professional presentations while working collaboratively and handling audience interaction confidently. And that's all from me. I'll pass it to the next presenter.
Hi and good day to madam. So for today I will be talking about my activity, which is I choose as a grammar skills, and the activity called as adjective braces. So for the objective is the main focus and the aim is to create a very engaging activity towards the learning experience where students itself they can solidify their grasp of 2 fundamental parts of speech, their verbs, which is the action, and also the adjective on how they're describing the words. It's a functional understanding language through the fun and also memorable and also expressive moment. Now we'll be moving to the how this activity gonna be conducted. It comes with a 3-step. So the first one is to give a preparation where the teachers need to prepare 2 distinct set of the index card, where one set for the verbs and another set for the adjective. And for the second step is to challenge their performance by dividing them into small teams and having one students to present each team and selecting one card and also one adjective card. Student must perform the action in a way that perfectly embodies the chosen adjective, such as example like crawling in a sneaking way of using a designated space for their performance. And for the last step is a scoring and the identification, where its remaining teams observe the performance and try to correctly identify both the original action of the verb and also the adjective. It's to accurate name of the combination. It's by completing the learning loop of the performance by the students itself and also their grammatical identification. And for the next part is how this grammar skill assessment can be carried out. So this grammatical skills assessment in the adjective race of the activity that I've chosen, it's a peer-based identification by the students itself. It's also a validation process through the scoring of their face. The point of awarded only for this tool is accurate identification to ensure that all students are correctly linked to the concept of the action with the concept by the description given. And the expected outcomes by having this activity is to center the solidification of a core language skill through the active engagement, and it's also to expect the students to gain more functional mastery of verbs and such like adjective, particularly understanding how the works of the adjective describe the manner of the action by doing it. It's also to lead them to enhance their vocab acquisition by precise the language of the use. And here is the rubrics that I've stated. Here is the points given where we have total 2 given where we have total 2 divided state where we have the performer education and also guessing team identification, each of that divided by the 3 point, 2 point, 1 point, where the 3 is excellent, the 2 is good, and 0.1 is need improvement to be achieved. So here's the rubric that I've stated. So that's all from me, and thank you so much.